I was untouchable. Not in the romantic way people mean when they say it in movies. I mean actually untouchable. Nobody crossed me. Nobody questioned me. And absolutely nobody took what was mine. My name is Tae Jun, and I ran the most powerful underground organization in Seoul. Tattoos covering both arms, dragons, phoenixes, symbols that meant something in my world. Expensive suits tailored in Milan. Cars that cost more than most people's houses. I had everything a man could want. Except her. Her name was Maya Johnson, and I met her on a Tuesday that changed my entire life. I was in her hotel, the Imperial Grand, 5-star luxury, the kind of place where politicians and celebrities stayed when they visited Seoul. I had a meeting with some associates in one of the private suites. Business, the kind we didn't discuss in public places. And there she was, standing in the lobby, talking to the concierge about a problem with the presidential suite. She was beautiful, tall, elegant, wearing a professional navy suit, her natural hair styled perfectly, speaking rapid Korean with just a hint of an American accent that made everything she said sound interesting. I was supposed to be focused on my meeting. Instead, I couldn't stop watching her. She moved through that lobby like she owned it. And technically she did. Maya Johnson, the hotel's general manager. American, 32 years old, had turned the Imperial Grand into the most sought-after luxury hotel in the city in just 3 years. I did my research after that first sighting. That's what I do. I learn everything about people who interest me. And Maya Johnson interested me more than anyone had in years. So I did what any rational man in my position would do. I started staying at her hotel. Not in the suites we used for business. In a regular penthouse suite, under my legal name, playing the role of a successful real estate developer. Which wasn't entirely a lie, I did own real estate. Just, not all of it was acquired through legal channels. The first time I actually spoke to her was in the hotel bar. She was having a glass of wine after a long day, reviewing some documents on her tablet. Rough day? I asked, sliding onto the bar stool next to her. She looked up, and I saw her notice me. Really notice me. The expensive watch, the tailored suit, the confidence that came from never having been told no. Every day is rough when you run a hotel, she said with a smile that made my chest do something weird. But some days are rougher than others. You're Mr. Kong, right? Penthouse suite. Tae Jun. And yes, I'm in town for business. Possibly long term. Well, if you need anything during your stay, let me know. We pride ourselves on exceptional service. I'll keep that in mind. That was the beginning. I started finding excuses to be in the lobby when she was there. Requesting minor things from management just so she'd have to come to my suite. Making reservations at the hotel restaurant so I could accidentally run into her. And it was working. I could tell she was interested. We started having coffee together. Then dinner. Then long conversations in the hotel bar that stretched past midnight, where she'd tell me about growing up in Chicago, her dreams of running her own hotel chain someday, her love for Seoul that had made her stay long past her original contract. And I'd tell her, edited versions of my life. The real estate. The business deals. The success. I left out the parts about the underground empire, the violence, the fact that half the city was afraid of me. I thought I was falling in love with her. And I thought she was falling for me too. 3 months in, I was sure of it. She'd laugh at my jokes. Touch my arm when we talked. Look at me with those warm brown eyes like I was the most interesting man she'd ever met. I was planning how to tell her the truth about who I really was. How to explain that yes, I was dangerous, but I'd never let that danger touch her. That I'd protect her from everything, including my own world. And then I saw her with him. His name was David Park. And he was a janitor. Not even head of maintenance. Not facilities manager. A janitor. The guy who cleaned the hotel floors at night, who emptied trash cans, who fixed minor problems when guests complained about a leaky faucet or a broken lamp. I first saw them together in the service hallway. I was coming back from a late meeting, the kind where we discuss territory and percentages, and who needs to be reminded of their obligations. I took the service elevator because it was faster, and I saw them. Maya was laughing. Really laughing, the kind of laugh I'd been trying to get out of her for 3 months. And David, this average-looking guy in a maintenance uniform with a toolbox, was making her laugh by doing some kind of impression of a difficult guest. And then he said, David put on this ridiculous voice, young man, in my country, we don't use mops. We have servants who clean on their hands and knees. And I had to keep a straight face and say, sir, this is a 5-star hotel in Seoul. We have mops. Maya was practically doubled over laughing. David, you're terrible. You can't make fun of guests. I'm not making fun. I'm just accurately describing. There's a difference. They didn't even notice me standing there. I cleared my throat. Maya looked up, still smiling. Oh, Tae Jun. I didn't see you there. Have you met David? He's been with the hotel for 5 years. Best maintenance worker we have. David extended his hand. I looked at it for a second too long before shaking it. Nice to meet you, Mr. Kang, he said with genuine friendliness. No fear. No recognition of who I was. Just, regular guy being polite. I hated him immediately. Likewise, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Then to Maya, I was hoping we could have that drink we talked about. Oh, tonight's not great actually. I promised David I'd help him with his English pronunciation. He's taking classes to improve his resume, and I've been tutoring him a couple nights a week. You're tutoring the janitor. I said it before I could stop myself. And I saw something flicker in Maya's eyes. Disappointment. I'm tutoring my friend who's working hard to improve his opportunities. Yes. I didn't mean. It's fine. Rain, check on that drink. But her voice was cooler now. I went back to my suite and did something I never do. I drank alone. And I stewed. And I started noticing things I'd been too confident to notice before. Maya and David had history. Not romantic history, I had my people look into it. But friendship history. Real friendship. He'd been there when she first arrived in Seoul, helping her navigate the city when she barely spoke Korean. He'd taught her subway routes and where to find good street food, and which neighborhoods were safe for a foreign woman living alone. He'd been there when her apartment building had a pipe burst, showing up at 2 a.m. with tools to fix it before the landlord could get there. He'd been there when she was homesick for Chicago, bringing her authentic hot dogs from the one place in Seoul that made them right. He'd been there. Consistently. For 3 years. And I'd been there for 3 months, buying expensive dinners and thinking money and power were enough. I tried to compete. That's what I do, I compete and I win. I sent flowers to her office. Expensive arrangements that probably cost more than David made in a month. She thanked me politely and put them in the lobby for all the guests to enjoy. I made reservations at the most exclusive restaurant in Seoul. The kind where you need connections even with money. She said she was busy that night. Later, I saw her in the hotel courtyard having street food with David, both of them sitting on a bench, laughing about something. I bought her a bracelet. Diamond. Tasteful. Expensive enough to make a statement. She returned it with a note. This is too much. I can't accept this. But thank you for thinking of me. And that same week, I saw her wearing a cheap handmade bracelet, the kind you buy from street vendors for $5. When I asked about it, she said David had gotten it for her from a night market because she'd mentioned once that she liked the colors. I was losing. To a janitor. And I didn't understand why. Everything I knew about attraction, about power, about what made people choose you, it was all failing. Because I had more money, more status, more everything than David Park could ever dream of having. But I didn't have what he had. I didn't have her trust. Her real laughter. Her comfort. Her friendship. And by the time I realized that's what mattered, it was too late. The moment I knew I'd lost her completely was on a random Thursday evening. I was in the hotel gym. Yes, I'd started working out there just to increase my chances of running into her. And I saw them through the window. Maya and David in the courtyard. It was raining lightly, and they were both getting wet, but neither seemed to care. He was teaching her how to fix something looked like a broken umbrella she'd been carrying. See, the spring mechanism here is stuck, David was saying, completely absorbed in the umbrella repair. You just need to there. Now it works. Maya tested it, opening and closing the umbrella with delight. You're a miracle worker. I was going to throw this away. Nah, most things aren't really broken. They just need someone to pay attention to what's actually wrong instead of giving up on them. She looked at him when he said that. Really looked at him. And I saw something in her expression that she'd never shown me. Softness. Real affection. The kind you can't fake or buy. You're a good person, David Park, she said quietly. You make it easy to be good, Maya Johnson. And then I'll never forget this. She kissed his cheek. Just a friendly kiss, nothing dramatic. But the way he smiled after, like she'd given him the world, and the way she looked at him, like he was the world. I knew I'd already lost. I confronted her the next day. Professional setting, her office, where I could maintain some dignity. I need to ask you something, I said, sitting across from her desk. Are you seeing David? She looked surprised. David? We're friends. Just friends? Yes. Why do you ask? Because I've been trying to. I thought we had something. You and me. Maya's expression softened, but not in the way I wanted. It was pity. Tae Jun, you're an incredible man. Successful, intelligent, generous. Any woman would be lucky to be with you. But not you. But not me. Not in that way. Why? What does he have that I don't? She was quiet for a long moment. Then, do you want the honest answer? Yes. He sees me. Not the position, not the success, not the image I project. Just me. When I'm tired, he brings me coffee without me asking. When I'm stressed, he makes me laugh without trying to fix my problems. When I'm homesick, he finds ways to remind me why I chose to stay here. I could do all of that. Could you? Or would you be thinking about how to optimize it? How to make it impressive? How to win? I didn't have an answer. David doesn't try to win me, she continued gently. He just shows up. Consistently. As himself. Without agenda. Without performance. Just present. I'm not a prize to be won, Tae Jun. I'm a person who wants to be known. And David knows me. You know the version of me that fits into your life. There's a difference. So that's it? I lose to the janitor because he's more authentic. She flinched at my tone. He's not the janitor. He's David. He's a good man who works hard and treats people with respect and doesn't measure his worth by his job title. And yes, I chose him. Not because he's better than you, but because he's better for me. I stood to leave. My pride was demolished, but I could maintain my dignity for 30 more seconds. I hope he makes you happy, I said. He does. Every day. In small ways that add up to everything. I left her office and went back to my suite and did something I hadn't done since I was a teenager. I looked at myself honestly. Who was I really? Strip away the money, the power, the tattoos that told stories of battles fought and won, the reputation that made people step aside when I walked into rooms. What was left? Not much, I realized. Not much that would make someone like Maya choose me for who I was instead of what I could provide. I'd spent so many years becoming untouchable that I'd forgotten how to be real. How to be present without calculating the angle. How to give without expecting return on investment. David Park, the janitor I'd dismissed as irrelevant, had something I'd lost years ago. Humanity. I should have left the hotel. Checked out, moved on, forgotten about Maya Johnson and her choice. But I didn't. Because I'm Kong Tae Jun and I don't lose gracefully. I stayed. I watched. I tortured myself with every small interaction between them. I saw him bring her lunch when she was too busy to eat. Saw her save him a seat in the staff meeting even though he was just maintenance. Saw them share inside jokes that made them laugh while everyone else looked confused. I saw him fix her office chair when it started squeaking. Saw her bring him English practice materials she'd printed out herself. Saw them take walks during her break, just circling the block, talking about nothing important and everything that mattered. And I was jealous. Furiously, irrationally jealous. Not of his looks, I was better looking. Not of his money, I had infinitely more. Not of his status, I controlled half the city. I was jealous of his ease. His comfort. His ability to make her smile without trying. His contentment with simple moments that I would have dismissed as not impressive enough, not grand enough, not worthy of someone like her. Hold on, have you subscribed to the channel? If no, kindly do that now so you don't miss juicy and tasty contents from us always. I tried to sabotage it. I'm not proud of this, but I'm being honest. I used my connections to get David called in for a maintenance emergency on one of the nights I knew they had plans. Just a small thing, a broken air conditioning unit in a VIP guest's room that turned out to be fine. Maya figured it out. She showed up at my suite the next morning, and she was angry. Did you call in that fake emergency last night? I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, Tae Jun. The guest didn't even complain. The AC was working perfectly. But somehow maintenance got an urgent call that kept David working until midnight. Maybe someone made an honest mistake. Or maybe someone who can't accept rejection decided to interfere in my life. She was right. And we both knew it. Here's what's going to happen, she said, her voice cold in a way I'd never heard. You're going to stop this. Whatever you're planning, whatever you think you're doing, you're going to stop. Because David is important to me. And if you care about me at all, even a little, you'll respect that. And if I don't? Then you're exactly the kind of man I was right to avoid. Powerful, successful, and completely unable to see people as anything other than things to acquire or obstacles to remove. She left. And I sat in my expensive suite, surrounded by luxury that suddenly felt empty, and realized she was right about me. Everything I'd built, the power, the reputation, the empire, was real. But I wasn't. Not anymore. I'd become a role I played so well I'd forgotten there was supposed to be a person underneath. I started watching them differently after that. Not looking for ways to interfere. Just watching. Trying to understand what I'd missed. And I saw it. Finally, I saw it. The way David listened when Maya talked. Not waiting for his turn to speak. Actually listening. Processing. Caring about her words because he cared about her. The way he celebrated her small victories, a positive review from a difficult guest, a successful event booking, with the same enthusiasm most people reserved for major life achievements. The way he showed up. Consistently. Without drama. Without needing credit. Just there, being a reliable presence in her chaotic, high-pressure life. The way he loved her without needing to possess her. Without making it about him. Just loving her and being happy she existed in his world. I'd never loved anyone like that. I'd wanted Maya, desired her, been determined to have her. But had I loved her? Really loved her? Or had I just loved the idea of winning someone everyone else would envy me for having? 3 months after our conversation in my suite, I saw them in the hotel garden. It was early morning. I'd been up all night handling business. They were having coffee before their shift started. David was telling some story that made Maya laugh so hard she snorted. She was embarrassed, covering her face. He was delighted, telling her that was his new favorite sound in the world. And I realized he'd seen her in ways I never had. The snort laugh, the way she looked without makeup on early morning shifts, the stress cry she probably did in bad weeks, the way she probably sang off-key when she was happy. All the real, imperfect, human moments I'd never been around for because I was too busy planning impressive dates and grand gestures. I'd wanted to win her. David had wanted to know her. And she'd chosen accordingly. I checked out of the Imperial Grand on a Monday morning. Maya was at the front desk when I brought my key card down. Professional as always. Checking out, Mr. Kong? Yes. Business elsewhere. Time to move on. Hold on, have you subscribed to the channel? If no, kindly do that now so you don't miss juicy and tasty contents from us always. She nodded. Then, more quietly, I hope you find what you're looking for. I thought I had. Turns out I was looking for the wrong thing. David came around the corner carrying a toolbox. He saw us, started to turn away to give us privacy. I called him over. David. He approached cautiously. He knew who I really was by then. Someone had told him, probably trying to make him afraid. But he wasn't. Just careful. Respectful, but not scared. I wanted to tell you something, I said. You're a lucky man. Not because of her, though yes, obviously. But because you figured out something I'm just learning, that being present is worth more than being powerful. That knowing someone is better than impressing them. That showing up consistently beats showing up spectacularly. David looked at Maya, then back at me. Thank you for saying that. Take care of her. Not because I'm telling you to. Because you want to. Which you clearly do. Every day, he said simply. I left the Imperial Grand and went back to my real life. My empire. My power. My world where everyone knew my name and feared my reputation. And it felt hollow. I'd lost Maya to a janitor. And in losing her, I'd discovered I'd lost myself years ago. So I did something crazy. I changed. Not immediately. Not dramatically. But slowly, deliberately, I started being more present. With my people, my decisions, my life. I started noticing the small things. The lieutenant who always remembered everyone's coffee orders. The accountant who stayed late not because he was afraid of me, but because he cared about getting things right. The driver who knew when I needed silence and when I needed conversation. People who'd been in my organization for years, and I'd never really seen them. Not as people, as functions. I started asking questions. Learning names of families, kids, dreams. Started showing up to the small moments, birthdays, graduations, celebrations, that I'd always dismissed as not worth my time. And something strange happened. My organization got stronger. More loyal. More effective. Because people weren't just following orders from a powerful boss. They were working with someone who saw them. It took me 6 months to realize David Park had taught me how to be a better leader by showing me how to be a better human. A year after I left the Imperial Grand, I went back. Not to stay. Just to have dinner at the hotel restaurant. To close that chapter properly. Maya saw me in the lobby. She smiled, friendly, but the romantic possibility was long gone. Tae Jun, you look good. Different. Calmer. I am. Different, I mean. Better, I hope. I'm glad. Are you here for business? Just dinner. Closing some old loops in my head. She understood. She always was perceptive. David and I got engaged last month, she said, showing me a simple ring. Not expensive. Meaningful. Congratulations. Seriously. He's a good man. The best I know. Can I ask you something? And I want you to be honest. Of course. Did you ever feel anything for me? Or was I just the rich, powerful guy who wanted what he couldn't have? She thought about it. I felt something. Attraction, interest, possibility. But I also felt like you wanted a version of me that fit into your life. David wanted me to fit into his life by making space for all of me, not just the polished parts. There's a difference. There is. And I understand that now. Too late, but I understand. It's never too late to understand, Tae Jun. Just too late for us. But not too late for you. I had dinner alone at a corner table. Good food, excellent service, expensive wine. Everything I'd always had. But now I understood what I'd been missing. Someone to share it with. Really share it. Not perform for, not impress. Just be with. As I was leaving, I saw David coming in from his shift. He saw me, hesitated, then walked over. Mr. Kong. David. And it's Tae Jun. Tae Jun. Thank you. For what you said when you left. And for leaving. I know that wasn't easy. It was necessary. For all of us. We shook hands. And I meant it when I said, take care of each other. We will. Every day. I walked out of that hotel knowing I'd never go back. Not because it hurt, though it did, a little. But because that chapter was closed. Maya had chosen David, and David had earned that choice by being consistently, authentically, wholly himself. And me? I'd learned the most expensive lesson of my life, that you can't buy presents, you can't intimidate someone into loving you, and all the power in the world means nothing if you're not powerful enough to be vulnerable. 2 years after I left the Imperial Grand, I met someone new. Her name was Sun Hee, and she ran a small bookstore in a quiet neighborhood. Not glamorous. Not impressive. Just a woman who loved books and helped people find stories that changed their lives. I met her because one of my lieutenants recommended the store for a specific rare book I'd been looking for. I went myself instead of sending someone. That was new. I was doing more things myself now, being present instead of delegated. Sun Hee found the book for me. We started talking about literature. I came back the next week for another recommendation. Then another. 3 months in, I told her who I really was. Not the sanitized version. The truth. The empire, the violence, the world I lived in. She listened. Thought about it. Then said, are you trying to scare me away? Or are you trusting me with the truth? Trusting you. Then I'm honored. And I'm staying. We've been together for 8 months now. And every day, I remember what I learned from losing Maya to David. Show up. Consistently. As yourself. Listen more than you speak. Celebrate small moments with the same energy you give big victories. See people for who they are, not who you need them to be. Love without needing to possess. Be present without calculating the angle. I still run my empire. I'm still powerful. Still feared in certain circles. The tattoos still tell stories of battles fought and won. But now I'm also the guy who closes his bookstore girlfriend's shop with her on Tuesday nights, helping her shelve returns and listening to her talk about the customers who came in that day. I'm the guy who remembers her sister's birthday and her favorite tea and the specific way she likes her coffee. I'm the guy who shows up. Not spectacularly, just consistently. And you know what? She chose me. Not because of the power or the money or the reputation, but because I finally learned how to be chosen for the right reasons. I saw Maya and David one more time, about 6 months ago. They were at a street market, buying groceries like normal people. She was pregnant, glowing, happy, laughing at something he said while holding his hand. They saw me. I waved. They waved back. Simple acknowledgement between people whose lives had intersected and moved on. And I wasn't jealous anymore. I was grateful. Grateful that she'd chosen him, because it forced me to become someone worth choosing. Grateful that he'd shown me what real love looked like, unglamorous, consistent, present, and wholly focused on the other person's happiness. Grateful that I'd lost, because losing taught me how to win at things that actually matter. I was untouchable once. Powerful. Feared. Successful by every measure that mattered in my world. But I was also alone. Performing. Trying to win people instead of knowing them. Trying to possess instead of partner. I lost the woman I wanted to a janitor who treated her better than I knew how to. And in losing her, I found myself. Not the persona. Not the role. The actual person underneath all the power and tattoos and reputation. The person who can love without needing to win. The person who shows up not because it's impressive, but because it matters. The person who finally understands. The janitor didn't steal my queen. I lost her all by myself. And that loss was the best thing that ever happened to me.